A man boarded a plane, just like any other passenger. Dark suit, sunglasses, calm posture, nothing about him stood out. It was the kind of face you'd see, and forget minutes later. But just a few hours later, he would execute a plan so precise, that even today, no one can fully explain it. A crime with no errors, no trace, and no clear ending. And that's what makes this story so unsettling. Because the real question isn't just what happened, but how someone managed to disappear in the middle of the sky, and never be found again. The day it all began. It was November 24, 1971. A short flight between Portland and Seattle. Nothing unusual, nothing that would raise suspicion, exactly the kind of flight no one pays attention to. The man bought his ticket in cash, using a name that didn't exist, D.B. Cooper. A simple detail, but one that already showed this wasn't random. And maybe the strangest part, he didn't look nervous. No hesitation, no uncertainty. From the very beginning, it felt like he already knew exactly how this would end. Details no one noticed. Before the plane even took off, he was already observing everything. The crew, the passengers, every small movement, like someone who wasn't there by chance. He ordered a drink, lit a cigarette, and stayed quiet. On the outside, just another ordinary passenger. But inside, every detail was part of something bigger. And that raises a disturbing thought: how many people were sitting just a few feet away from one of the greatest mysteries in history, without having any idea? The note that changed everything. During the flight, he handed a note to a flight attendant. At first, she didn't think much of it, assuming it was just another passenger trying to get attention. But then he leaned closer and said something simple. "You better read it." And in that moment, everything changed. The note said he had a bomb. No shouting, no panic, no chaos. Just complete control. When he opened his briefcase and revealed what looked like an explosive device, there was no doubt left. Total control. From that moment on, he took control of the situation without raising his voice. His instructions were clear, direct, and surprisingly calm. He showed no signs of stress, no urgency. In fact, his calmness was what made everything even more unsettling. It didn't feel like a risk to him, it felt like a process. And that leads to a question that still remains today: how does someone stay this composed in such an extreme situation, unless they're absolutely sure of what they're doing? The request that makes no sense. His demands were simple, but very specific. $200,000 in cash. 4 parachutes. And a plane ready to take off again. But here's where things stop making sense. Why 4 parachutes, if he was alone? That detail doesn't add up, unless it was intentional. The most accepted theory is that he wanted authorities to believe more people were involved. Because if that were the case, no one would risk sabotaging the parachutes. Even that was part of the plan. The calmest moment of chaos. The plane landed in Seattle. The money was delivered. The passengers were released. It should have been the most tense moment, but it wasn't. He remained calm. Polite. Completely in control. No signs of panic, no mistakes. And the more everything unfolded, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a crime, it was the execution of something carefully designed. The second flight. Then the plane took off again, this time with only the crew on board. And that's when things became even more unusual. He began giving very specific instructions. Altitude. Speed. Aircraft configuration. Details that only someone with real technical knowledge would know. And now the mystery deepens. Who was this man, who understood so much, yet no one could identify? The impossible jump. In the middle of the night, during a storm, with almost zero visibility, he opened the rear staircase of the plane. No lights. No clear direction. No guarantee of survival. Just darkness, and a decision that defies logic. And then, he jumped. A silent moment, that would define this case forever. Because after that, he was never seen again. The disappearance. After the jump, the search began. Helicopters, ground teams, large-scale investigations, everything was done to find him. But nothing was found. No body. No parachute. No solid evidence. It was as if he had simply vanished. And that's what makes this case so disturbing. Because disappearing is one thing, but disappearing completely is something else entirely. The clue that makes it worse. Years later, something unexpected happened. Part of the money was found, buried near a river. That should have brought answers, but it only created more questions. If he died, how did the money end up there? If he survived, why leave any of it behind? Nothing fits. Nothing makes sense. Suspects and theories. Over the years, several suspects were investigated. People with military backgrounds, technical skills, profiles that seemed to match. But none were confirmed. There was always something missing, something that didn't fully connect. Almost as if the real person behind it was never even on the list. The mystery that remains. Decades have passed. Technology evolved. Investigations advanced. But the truth remains the same. No one has ever proven who D.B. Cooper really was. No confirmed identity. No final explanation. And maybe that's not a failure. Maybe that was the plan all along. To disappear, without leaving anything behind. No mistakes. No trace. No answers. Just a story that refuses to end. And maybe that's why this case still fascinates people today. Because it's not just about a crime, it's about someone who managed to do the impossible, and get away with it. Now I want to ask you. Do you think he died that night? Or lived the rest of his life, hiding a secret no one ever uncovered?